Hey, what's up, everybody? Lawler here on the YouTubes. Hope you're all doing wonderful. We've got our final Open 6 for Europe for the RLCS season. It's going to be a crazy one. Obviously, a lot of things to talk about today. We're going to be breaking down who we think is going to go, as well as the storylines and narratives that come along with it. If you guys are unsure on how people qualify, who makes the major, all that kind of stuff, check out my video from yesterday where we break that stuff down, as well as the first top 16 matches. They're going to be competing against each other on Friday. We'll be live streaming these, twitch.tv/Lawler, starting bright and early, 9:30 a.m. Central, all weekend long. Come hang out with us. With that, we're going to jump into these predictions. We've already done them on stream with chat. We appreciate you guys all being here. But we are going to crush through these and kind of explain why we have what we have and kind of the mentality around it. With that in mind, going through the uppers, obviously your top seed's a little bit of an advantage. Vitality's biggest challenge, they do get the young guns. The unproven young guns are basically getting that dose of reality. While Vitality, I can admit, has been struggling and not living up to their expectation, they are still winning. Most recently, we did see BDS pick up Juke, Nico, and the boys, the young guns, and they have barely scraped into the top 16. They've done it twice, and then they fell short last time. So they're the epitome of like a 14 to like 19 team, give or take, depending on how you want to do seeding. But I think Vitality as a team knows that they still got to get some stuff done. So I feel like there will be some chances to play upset, but realistically against the young teams, Vitality should win. I have them beating BDS and then beating BSK. This is a rematch from last time. BSK did take them to game 7. I think a shorter series benefits Vitality here. I can also make arguments for the opposite. Usually veteran status. BSK has been consistent, though. It's awesome to watch those guys play. Mots and Rust, both players that are next up that might get a shout moving forward. On the other side, I have GK and NIP facing each other, and I'm going to give it to NIP here, and we'll explain more later as to why we do that. But primarily, I do think NIP has shown that they can be competitive in the group stage, but for some reason, they fall short in bracket play when it matters. I think that lack of pressure primarily makes a difference. Maybe that will not happen, and I'm putting it as a game 5 super close series. One, because I think it's going to be a really good series, and we know NIP is capable of beating anybody at all. Like, they can take K-Corp, they can, like, we've seen them capable of it, but can, when pressure is on the line, be a problem? Yes, it has been. I have concerns about NIP, and maybe I should flip this, but I think for bracket reasons, I do have some narrative pushing that I wanna keep the same. So I'm gonna have GK going to 5 here. I think NIP stylistically does match up pretty well against them as being a bit more defensive, but I would not be surprised if GK wins this at all. GK has proven that they can be clutch when it matters most and everything's on the line. Outside of lower bracket, I'm gonna have BSK moving in through. I want to see more of them, so we're gonna continue to see that. I don't think any competition in their way. Synergy versus BDS, I could see the BDS kids winning, but Synergy historically has played better, and I have GK winning over Synergy. Over in Group B, the K-Corp's got a very easy run. They're going to start against ATM and Chronic and those guys. Shouldn't have any issues. And then Fast Forward Dopamine. I think Dopamine could play upset there, but I'm going to give it to Fast Forward and have K-Corp beating them handedly. On the other side, Dignitas, nothing to lose. They've already qualified. They're chilling. They're in a really good spot, and I think that lack of pressure is very good for Dignitas. I think it'll still be a competitive match against Gentlemates because I do rate Mates highly. I think their stock is increasing over time, but Dignitas is going to be able to get the win. I would not be surprised if Mates finds a way to play upset here, but for now, we're going Dignitas. Until Dignitas gives us a reason to doubt them, we're going to keep going them. On the other side, we do have 100% beating Chippy Chips. I think we're going to give some of the veteran status. Chippy and Laws and those boys are good, but 100% historically has proven that they win those tough matches. They did go 0-2, I think, last regional, so it was complicated, but competition was a little bit different. I could see 100% win that one. Dopamine over ATM. We're going to have a close one. We're going to give it to K-Dop and the boys. And then Fast Forward over 100% and Mates over Dopamine. There is upset potential in these brackets, which in Europe is usually what happens. There's usually some pretty big upsets that completely make the bracket run crazy. I'm going to have those set up, but we'll see if they actually happen. When it comes to the bracket, then, you guys can see a little early. I have K-Corp Vitality, Dignitas NIP. K-Corp should handily take care of Vitality. I think K-Corp obviously going to game 7 OT or game 7 last time against Dig. I think the fact that they lost is a good thing. I think they're going to put that energy into improvement and come back swinging. As for Dig and NIP, normally be like, hey, NIP can definitely take this. I'm not in that opinion or in that mindset anymore. I think NIP has showcased to me that in tough circumstances, in must-win matches, they usually falter. I don't know what the situation for that is. I think that team has all the talent in the world to go and compete. But for whatever reason, when it matters most, when things are on the line, they just haven't been able to get the victory. So I'm going to say, hey, you have a guaranteed top 6 that puts you at an advantage, that ties up your points, that does so many things. I'm going to go to the team that has no pressure whatsoever, and Dignitas is going to keep on rolling. That then drops Vitality and NIP to the lowers, and the big one here, GK and Mates. I think this is a very important one. What this does for the actual points is these two are tied. This is essentially a certified major bout. Whoever wins this moves forward and goes to the major. I think that's a pretty big deal. I think that's pretty important. I'm going to believe in the Gentlemate stock. I think Eugen's been a great addition. I think the guys are playing really, really well together. But this is also like black hole territory, divided by 0 type stuff. GK, when they need to win, lower bracket is terrifying. We've also seen this exact same scenario when they did make the run, where they were in that lower bracket and they had to go completely through. And they went to a game 7 against a team they shouldn't have, and they barely won, and then they went and dominated for the rest of the bracket. I would not be surprised to see that same thing happen. A lot of pressure on his shoulders. It's up to Oli. If Oli continues to play like he did last Open, it's not going to happen. Oli's got to step up. He's got to be that difference maker. I'm going to believe in Eugen. That's my opinion of it. I think the young guns for BSK and those guys will move forward and fall short to NIP, and that's going to give NIP a little bit of hope until they realize, hey, we got to beat K-Corp in a game 7, which I just do not see happening. I do not see a world where K-Corp concedes to NIP in 7. Maybe in 5, but not in 7. Maybe this is closer and it's like 4-2, but I think K-Corp takes care of that. Mates over Vitality. If Vitality keeps faltering, I can't lie to myself. After what I've seen for the last 2 opens for Vitality, I think a Mates is going to be able to bring them very, very close. This is going to be a game of inches. I am not surprised if this has multiple OTs or multiple 1-goal game differences. This could go either way. And that's not a good statement from Vitality team that should realistically be a clear number 2 in the region. But if that does happen, then I think Mates and Dignitas is a coin flip. I feel like there's maybe a lack of focus, maybe potentially for Dignitas. Mates is also going to have a warm-up match, while Dignitas is coming in cold. Depends on what Dignitas's warm-up is in their scrim that morning. But I'm gonna choose to believe in Mates, and this goes one of 2 ways. Eventually, they do concede to K-Corp. I just don't think they're quite there yet. Very excited to see Mates on Major if this happens, but what this ends up doing for the actual World Championship is why we have this. Realistically, I think Dignitas would win this one, but what it does for the World Championship is pretty important. If we look at the point rankings, that would tie Vitality and Mates. Tiebreakers and stuff will go to Vitality as the high seed, so they would be the 3 seed overall. But when it looks at the actual overall season and what it means for the World Championship, is that means we would have the Raleigh Major. At the Major, that would require Mates, if they concede this match, if they lose here, that means they would need 15 points to tie, because they would lose out on 4 points. That would give them 30 total points, which means they would need a guaranteed top 4 placement to pass up GK to go to the World Championship, as well as secure a spot at EWC, which is a huge deal for these organizations, especially GK, who is based in Saudi and in the Middle East. But if Mates does beat Dignitas and they get that additional 4 points, then they only need a top 6 at the Major, because then they would get 12, and that would allow them to pass up GK. There was a lot riding on these 2 weekends, or this weekend particularly, for both NIP and Mates. I think whoever does not make the Major whether it be NIP, GK, NIP mates, NIP whoever. The LCQ is going to be very exciting for the World Championship. But if I had to guess, I think we're going to see some new blood over in Raleigh. And then they've got a ton of pressure on them to try to make top 6. That's what I think is going to happen. And if NA is finally starting to put forward their 4 best teams, I think we've got a worldie. I think we're going to have a very, very good major if these are the 4 teams that go. New up-and-coming talent. You've got, obviously, this final approach from North America where you're starting to see Genji with the resurgence of Justin trying to make top 8, play in front of a crowd since the first time in 2021 season when we came back at the YouTube theater. I think there's some really cool narratives going in, and we'll make sure we break those down and talk about those at length after we find out who is actually going. If you guys want a more detailed video of like the storylines and narratives to pay attention to for each team, I will do my best. I will say I'll probably do it, but I'll try to do my best to kind of talk about the narratives and the different storylines and things going into Raleigh once we have all of our 16 teams locked in. Primarily NAEU, because most of the other conversations are pretty straightforward. So that's what we've got for predictions. I assume they're all going to go horribly wrong. A couple things I will assume is K-Corp will find themselves in the grand finals, but outside of that, beats me. Either way, that's what I've got for today's video. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, let me know down below. Again, doing watch parties this weekend, twitch.tv/Lawler. Come hang out with us. Should be a lot of fun watching these matches break down because it is going to be chaos. Either way, those are for me. Like, subscribe, notifications. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.